Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Your Pleasure Incorporated into Daily Living. I'm your host, Ellen Nicholas, sensuality consultant and proponent of good health and sensual experimentation and freedom. Today's topic is on fighting the ravages of time within. So, more importantly, I'm going to be talking about the pelvic floor. Now, the pelvic floor is a band of muscles that holds up different organs, the uterus in particular. It runs from the front to the back. It's like two muscles like this. And when a woman is actually having a baby and giving birth, the band of muscles open and the baby comes down the vagina and through. It is very, very important in maintaining internal health. And the exercise that is responsible for keeping it strong and healthy is called Kegels or Kegels, depending on what part of the country you come from, named after Dr. Arnold Kegel back in the 1950s. Actually, Kegels have been around for thousands of years. Back in ancient times, they were actually called pompoir power, and the women who were the most desirable were the ones that had the strongest pelvic floor, because they had great grip, great sensitivity, and great sexual response. So it is really, really important to maintain this muscle. And you have to say, well, okay, how do I know if my pelvic floor is strong or if it's weak? Well, you can tell several different ways. If you laugh, cough, or sneeze, and you urinate a little bit, you've got a pretty weak pelvic floor. Or if you've had 2 or more children and have not done your Kegels before, during, and after that pregnancy, your pelvic floor has probably been traumatized. Now, there's a couple of different ways to do Kegel exercises. The way you can tell if you are squeezing the correct muscles is by stopping the urine flow. So the next time you're peeing, stop the urine flow. The muscles that it takes to stop it on a dime are the PC muscles. Of course, if you try to stop the urine flow and you're unable to do that, then obviously this is going to be an exercise that you need to pay attention to, unless you don't mind wearing diapers for adults. But you have to remember the human body is incredible. And the pelvic floor in particular has the fastest recuperative power out of any muscle in the body. So even if you weren't exercising everything else, it is a muscle that will respond immediately to any kind of exercise that you give it. Now, you might say, well, okay, I've never had kids. So I don't really have to worry about my pelvic floor. That's not true. People who are overweight or obese, they put a lot of pressure on that pelvic floor and things tend to push down. When we were thousands and thousands of years ago, human beings were sort of, horizontal, and there wasn't a whole lot of pelvic floor push down. But then we stood up and gravity started pushing everything down. And unless you do these Kegel exercises, things are going to fall. And, there are ways to put them back up. I mean, there's surgeries, and then there's this delightful little machine. It's called a pessary, and that a doctor puts up inside a woman. It's like an upside down umbrella, and it holds everything up. And then once a month, she goes back to her gynecologist and he takes it out, cleans it off, puts it back up there. Can you imagine how painful and uncomfortable this is? Well, it doesn't have to happen. The pelvic floor has the fastest recuperative power. And if you do your Kegel exercises every single day, you will have a strong pelvic floor. Now, there are different kinds of Kegel exercises. The one that seems to be pretty popular is the flutter. Flutter is when you squeeze and relax, squeeze and relax, squeeze and relax. And you can do about 300 of those a day. Now, the thought of doing 300 Kegels might seem like a lot. Really, it just translates to 5 minutes. And if you don't have the endurance to do all 5 minutes at the same time, then I recommend that you Kegel throughout the day. And when the best time is whenever you're waiting. And we wait all the time. Maybe you're waiting on the phone for someone to get back to you. Maybe you're waiting in a line, a long line to get to the cashier. Maybe you're waiting at a light while you're driving your car, okay? Or you're waiting for your food to be served at a restaurant. There's lots and lots of opportunities where you are waiting. And rather than just waste time, do your Kegels while you're waiting. Hopefully you will get to 300 by the end of the day. So the flutter is the easiest one to do. Second in line is the 4-second hold. The 4-second hold is exactly what it sounds like. You squeeze those pelvic muscles, you hold that squeeze for about 4 seconds, and then you relax. And then you another 4 seconds squeeze, and then you relax. This is a really good isometric exercise for the inside of the body. And it will help that pelvic floor to become more elastic and more resilient and help it to rise back up by adding some strength to it. You can undo the damage that you've done from neglect if you pay attention to this body part. Another Kegel exercise, 2 others, are a little bit more advanced. They're called elevator up and elevator down. And once you get to the point where you can knock out 300 Kegels without too much of a problem, you can start practicing the elevator up and the elevator down. They are really, really good for strengthening, for keeping the uterus where it belongs, for keeping the bladder where it belongs, and for preventing any needs for surgeries as the years go by. People think that they don't, it's not important. Well, it is important. Taking responsibility for your body's health is your responsibility. And you can hand it over to a doctor, but I'm telling you, they'll never make you as healthy as you can make you by putting some of the effort into your body and paying attention to what you're doing. Now, men can also do Kegels, and it's not like they really have to worry. They, never get pregnant, don't have to worry about that. But if you've gained a lot of weight in your life, or if you've lost a lot of muscle mass, you can also have these problems with, holding back the urine if you laugh, cough, or sneeze. And in the long run, especially young men want to learn how to do these Kegel exercises, because not only will they give you better bladder control for the long run, but also they will help you to maintain a stronger, harder erection, so that when you're making love, you've got a lot more strength and a lot more endurance behind it. The Kegel exercises are not popular. You cannot see them like a nice bicep. Everybody can see a nice bicep. Everybody can see a nice butt. So they're not really a glamorous muscle group, but they are a necessary muscle group. And if you want to avoid problems as you mature and as your body changes and as you demand all kinds of things from it, Kegel exercises are going to help you stay healthy and strong on the inside. It will also improve for the women their sexual response, because as you do your Kegel exercises, it adds increased sensitivity, tone, and sensitivity to the sexual intercourse. I hope this has been an interesting talk for you. I hope you do your Kegel exercises every single day. I think a good time, if once you get to a place where you can do them 300 at a shot, listen to a nice song that you like and knock out 300 Kegels to the beat of a song. You'll get them over during the course of the day. You'll have set yourself up for a delightful vaginal orgasm later on in the day, and your sex life will improve tremendously. Plus, you won't end up having all kinds of problems in the years to come. If you've enjoyed this talk, please like my show, recommend it to those who you believe would appreciate it, and join me again next week for another, I'd like to say, episode of Your Pleasure incorporated into daily living. Thank you so much for joining me tonight. Have a lovely evening and see you next week. Bye for now.